CanHammer is a gaming podcast from the Great White North. See canhammer.ca for more info. Hey, so did you guys hear there's some major controversy at the LVO?
No, really?
No, not at the LVO.
So there was some stream anger and violence. No, there was no violence, but it was some pretty crazy stuff. So I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about that later when we go over the top list there. So good evening. Welcome to CanHammer. This is episode 123. This is going to be a 40K episode all about the top 8 lists at the LVO. We brought on a guest host, Jeff, because he was there.
I was there for the second time in a row.
Yeah, yeah, and I was not there, which is a long story short we'll get to. And then as usual, I'm also joined by my co-host, Mr.
Darren.
How's it going, Darren?
Oh, you know, same old.
That's good, that's good. So Jeff has been on the show before. You guys should know him. He's just the crazy drunken gamer that used to play Knights but now plays Blood Angels. Is that a good way to describe you?
He used to play Blood Angels, then played Knights, and now is back to Blood Angels.
Because you just ditched the AdMech altogether.
I still, with the new changes and playing ITC tournaments, the AdMech list I was running doesn't quite work too well in the ITC environment.
Oh, that's a little bit unfortunate. I feel the same way though with the whole brimstone ban. It's been hard to make a list nowadays when you're used to your crutch and then somebody broke the crutch.
Brimstone ban. I like how you put that. No one really banned brimstones.
They might as well have. Okay, might as well have. Anyway, so we're gonna start off. We got some shoutouts, some patrons, redactions, anything like that. So our last show was a Shadespire cast. Went up real recently. No redactions yet, but stay tuned. We might have some next week. We got some new patrons. Evan Stevens upped his patronage. I don't know. And then, so he upped his up, so thanks, Evan. Andy Mudge also donated.
New patron.
New patron. We might have picked him up in the last show, but we thought we'd give him a shout out again. He's a
good guy. One. He's a good guy.
You know him?
I do know Andy. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So I'm assuming he's from the GTA.
Yes, he's up in Newmarket. Long time player of both 40K and Sigmar. Well known by a lot of the guys in the GTA.
Sick. Okay, good stuff. And then we also have another patron, Snow. That's all we got to go by. So maybe you should send us a Facebook message so we know who you really are. Unless you want to stay anonymous.
Is he an informer?
Blast from the past.
I was going to say maybe he's like a bastard child of like a nobleman, but that's too Game of Thronesy, which is so 2015. So
yeah, because Darren and I went really new school with our reference.
I don't get your reference. Maybe that's the issue.
Oh man,
you don't remember Informer from like
on YouTube? Let's put an audio clip in.
No audio clip, but anyway, but who's Former? Explain this joke for
Informer.
Us. Informer.
Snow was a very white rapper, reggae-ish, who came out with the song Informer, like early 90s.
Yeah.
So
probably.
Just sing part of it. Just sing part of it for me, Jeff.
Not even gonna try. Because the only lyrics everyone knows is Informer.
Oh my god. Okay, I know that song. Okay, I didn't know that he was white, and I didn't know that was... Yeah, I didn't know any of that. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to hobby progress. So we're going to start with you, Jeff, since you're our guest. What's the last couple things you painted, or the last week or two?
Oh, God. I made a mistake. About 2 weeks before going to the LVO, I had my AdMech and Scions list that I've been running, and like I said, it doesn't fit the ITC format. So I said, you know what? I'll take Blood Angels, and I need to take 30 Death Company, which I had, but they were all in 25 mils, and none of them had jump packs,
Ugh.
And I also needed 15 scouts, which I didn't have, and I needed
Ugh.
12 mortar teams, which I didn't have.
Ugh.
So I very frantically started repainting all my Death Company, rebasing them all,
Wow.
finishing up all my characters. I got all but 10 scouts done, and took just 10 scouts that didn't really match the army. So I was that guy at LVO.
Oh, not that guy.
So still got a good paint score.
Yeah,
I'm
so
okay.
you were like
So,
90% of the armies there then, right? Mixed.
Yeah.
So what was?
I'm sorry, I'm so mean.
What was wrong with your AdMech list for the ITC?
So what I was running the Scions, so a bunch of drop Scions with 5 Tauroxes, a unit of Dragoons, that 40 Dragoons that were charging up, and some support AdMech units like Rangers and a Dune Crawler. They just gave up too many of the secondaries. The Tauroxes give up too much
Vehicles.
of those, kill a model with 10 wounds. The Dragoons give up that one that's like kill models that have 6 or more or 5 or more wounds in a unit. And and the Scion squads are just too easy to kill to get your 1 kill or kill 2 things a turn. So it's not an optimized ITC list. And when we get into the list, we can talk about that and how most of the good lists and lists that we're passing at LVO were optimized for those secondaries.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. So the perfect example is, infantry squads go from 10 to 9 by turning one to a mortar. Trying to deny
that's why I had 3 of
secondaries.
those.
Yeah. Cool.
Right on. So Darren, your hobby.
Oh, well, I've been almost finished my Forge World building bonanza now. In my basement, I had a big pile of Forge World that I haven't built yet, so I've literally built it all in the last week or so.
And only you would name it. Just like you would name it that I'm going to make this thing called the Forge World Building Bonanza, and I'm just going to build Forge World.
That's right. So
I'm like, why would you name it a thing?
The thing is, right, like when you get into the groove of building Forge World, because it's a particular process, you have to like clean it and scrub it and all this stuff, right? You get into a groove of building Forge World, and then you just have to build them all. So that's kind of what I did. I built like 6 Forge World models, basically, all at the same time. Because then when one's clamping, then you can clean the other one. Then you can do it like a little assembly line. It makes it much more efficient. So I built, Sakarans and Macariuses and all these sort of various Forge World models. So I'm basically done all my Forge World now, which is sad. Oh, no, I still have to do my Custodes Dreadnoughts. Woohoo!
Well, you're done building it. You're not done painting it.
No, I haven't painted. I've primed everything because we had some warm weather. Everything is primed and ready to paint. But I was in a building mood. I couldn't break it to paint. Well, actually, I did paint 3 Lehman Russ Punishers in the meantime as well. So... Oh, and 2 Dark Talons. I think that's about it. And now I'm building Custodes. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we'll get to that, I guess, with the news, kind of, because you did call that. But so that's the thing. So I've had a really, really rough time because I was working on my Fire Slayer army and I was doing quite well. And I did go to a tournament with them a few weeks ago at Sequence in Brockville Comics, and they've been doing really well. And I was like really stoked to go to LVO, take them. And so I was well on pace to get them like to the 80% level where they'd look like a cohesive army, fully done, and then they just need some highlights and touch-ups. And then I got just the flu. And it started like 2 weeks before LVO, and I just couldn't shake it. It was just horrible, and I just didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, it got worse and worse and worse, and I actually ended up canceling my flight, which was like, I don't know, it's like a crazy fee. I ended up losing my hotel room because Jeff just slept in my bed, and I lost my event pass because of course I couldn't go, and it was past the refund or transfer date, and it was just a nightmare, and I didn't get to go. So I felt like we were going to guaranteed to not win best club, which we probably wouldn't have won anyway because the best club guy had 3 guys that were in the top, but. And then I was worried that I was going to lose my best Fire Slayers faction, so I was just like destroyed, and it was like emotional and it was physical and it just sucks. And today's actually the first day. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but this is the first day I can actually like really function normally. But yeah, so I was just really disappointed, so I packed up all my Fire Slayer stuff and put it away, actually, because I was just like, whatever, screw that. And I decided to build something cool, so I built Yvraine, because I was watching a lot of the 40k streams, and I was like, she's a must-build for your Eldar collection. So I decided to put her together, and I've been working on some Dark Reapers that I had laying around, because I'm waiting on some new models that I bought, which are my 2 Fire Raptors.
You like message me, like, dude, I've been bad. I bought 2 Fire Raptors.
So they should be here in a week, and I'm stoked. And then
you could have just borrowed mine.
Well, I am borrowing yours for PNP 10, one of yours, and then maybe 2. We'll see. But I have a really good plan to use them for Adepticon, because we can't buy the colored GW spray paint in Canada for some reason. So I ended up actually just ordering it to the States, and I'm going to go across and pick it up, and I'm going to spray bomb it silver. Spray bomb them silver for my Iron Warriors, and I should be able to get them done in like a day, no problem.
Dude, you can buy GW spray here.
The colored stuff?
Yeah.
Not online, man.
No, don't buy it online. Go to a store.
Because you can't. Yeah, you can't ship the aerosol through the postal service.
Dude, you can get it everywhere.
You can, only black though.
No. Dude, I have like 20 different colors sitting on my shelf. I could have given you some color spray.
Well, that sucks. Okay, well,
whatever color you want, man.
Okay, irrelevant. I guess I could have got Sequence to order it in for me, but irrelevant. It's coming there. So I was like, I couldn't order it online, and I was like, oh, if I can't order it online, that means the hobby store can't. So
you're going all the way to Adepticon just to get silver paint?
No. I live on the border. It's like 15 minutes.
All right.
So it'll be like across the river. It's all good.
Watch it gets confiscated at customs.
Well, that's what I'm worried about, but I think it'll be fine. I don't think they'll care. It's So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to an advert from our sponsor, Martin. So enjoy. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Martin here from wargamesuk.co.uk. Proud to sponsor their boys at CanHammer. Come check us out for some great discounts on all your hobby goodness and needs.
And we are back after that short break of us discussing how stupid I am about buying aerosol. Oh, okay, so we're going to move on to new releases and news, or any things of note that we've noticed coming up or in the hobby. So we're going to start off. I'm going to hand off to Darren to talk about his favorite Age of Sigmar faction that's getting a lot of new stuff.
Oh, Death. Death is coming. Death is coming. Yeah. So just today, they spoiled some new Death stuff coming in the Legions of Nagash book. They are going to change summoning, because previously summoning is a spell. You have to cast it, and and that kind of sucks. And then you have to pay points for it. I think it's a little bit hard to exactly work out what happens. It sounds like summoning is now just healing. So they talk about certain units being summonable, have a summonable keyword, and then characters have this deathly invocation, which allows you to pick a certain number of units depending on how powerful your character is and heal wounds or replace models.
Okay, because it's similar to what they did with the Nurgle book, whereas in Nurgle you basically collect like these points, and then you can use them to purchase and summon models instead of casting a spell. Because I have to agree, just rolling 2d6 and be like, oh, I rolled the 8, I get the unit, is kind of weird, but you could save up for something like a Lord of Change. Or
but this doesn't specify that it's new units. It's just healing or replacing models that were dead.
Which would be appropriate for undead. Yeah, that would be like a thing. Like, they're not really... It didn't make sense to be raising new units. I guess it's fine, it makes sense, but to be like doing more healing and replenishing could be really good for them.
Yeah, what they say is that obviously, so for example, like a White King will just heal 2 different units, but Nagash will heal 5 different units. And you can stack it. So, Nagash could heal a unit and someone else could heal that same unit. So you could literally regenerate a whole crap load of models, which is cool.
Some characters already do that, right? So if they change that, and then you're like, oh, I took this special character. I can't, name escapes me right now. What's the one that brings back... Crypt ghouls.
Yeah, like all my courtiers, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just like take the courtiers, and then they heal because they're not really cast, or well, they're casters. Some of them, no, they aren't casters at all. So they're not casters, but they have a kind of ability to do it. And then you take a couple mages, they also do it. Yeah, you could really keep your units moving.
Yep. Then they spoiled that if you stick to one particular part of the Legion, so I mean skeletons or whatever, you can make your summonable units appear from these grave sites. So basically, you get to place 2 grave sites in your opponent's zone and 2 grave sites in your zone, and when you do your summoning, quote unquote, they can appear there.
That's cool. That's interesting. And your opponent
cool.
knows they can probably play to that, like throw a unit of dudes on one of the grave sites and no units come, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if there'll be penalty for standing on it or something. I don't know.
Just surround it so you can't place the unit, and then bang. So
yeah. Then they have something about the Grand Host can send wave after wave of undead. This is represented by the Legion's innumerable ability. In your hero phase, you roll a dice for each friendly Grand Host under Gash summonable unit on the battlefield. On 5+, you heal D3 wounds or return models. So it's another way of bringing people back.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's the death. I'm pretty excited. They also, I'm going to let Jeff maybe take this because he was actually at the presentation. They're releasing a new faction.
No, I didn't make it.
What?
I didn't make it, unfortunately, but it was on Thursday night. So we and Joe were there. I couldn't make it.
And that's the only reason we got you on the show. I'm just kidding. So they're basically doing a daughter. Was it Daughters of Cain? Yeah, they're going all out, and I kind of knew that was coming because they were just redone not too long ago in the end of 8th edition. Beautiful models, beautiful sculpts. They have a lot of characters. They have a lot of big models. So this had to come. I'm curious about their fluff more so than their rules because it's not an army that intrigues me. Just having that. It's also good for the game in that it's a female army for Age of Sigmar.
Sisters.
But they're not quite sisters. Like, sisters are questionable on whether or not you'd want, like, your daughter to play them. I guess they could play, like, Battle Sisters. It's not bad. Some of the other units, if you had, like, a kid. But this would be cool. Like, I know a lot of women tend to play, like, Sylvan. I know it's generalizing. I'm not really... They'll play, like, Sylvaneth. There's a lot of strong female characters. But this is, like, a whole army of just badass females, and that's what they do. I kind of like it.
Looks pretty cool. Looks cool.
Yeah, and the malls are all gorgeous. They're expensive, though.
Expensive, what, points-wise, you mean?
No, cost-wise, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, I think you'll, with the new models coming out, you might see plastic kits and
average price.
Yeah,
because those were like expensive plastic kits to do like 90 of them. Well, maybe they're not that bad anymore. It's all relative, right? It's probably worth the money. But
you'll see a $60 box for 5 go up to an $80 box for 10.
Hopefully, that'd be great.
Or something like that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're pretty sweet. So I guess that's it for Age of Sigmar, which is great. We had almost nothing, and then now we've gotten a Nurgle book, and we're getting a lot. So I'm pretty stoked about all that. Because
Chris, is I can't believe you're not going to talk about Fishmen.
Fishmen? I don't know.
Fishmen?
You didn't hear that coming out of LVO?
No, I thought it was a joke.
During the it was, but during the GW presentation, they start off sitting there with everyone, and now we're going to talk Age of Sigmar. We've got a faction that all of you have wanted for a really long time, that I know a lot of you are going to be really excited for, and here they are, Fishmen. I don't know. No, we're just kidding. Daughters of Cain. Here's the Daughters of Cain video.
Yeah, well, that didn't get translated onto the community site, so
yeah, that wasn't.
That was they trolled the whole audience at LVO.
Was it just silence? Was it just like silent?
It was like stunned applause, essentially.
Like slow clapping.
It was like we don't need that. we don't need that. Another order army. No. Well, that's the one thing that I find weird is Daughters of Cain is order. And so, like, a lot of people have been complaining about that. Like, they don't belong there. Maybe they should be chaos. Maybe they should be some. But it's like somebody said that they're almost like they're like lawful evil type thing. So they could be order. Like
chaotic good is what you're looking for.
Chaotic good.
Or lawful evil works, but lawful evil is still evil. You could be chaotic good, which is where you're still good, but you kind of just do things for your own. You do things for yourself, not for the greater purpose.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. like what their fluff is, because maybe I just have this like the kind of the impression from 8th edition or whatever, where it's like, well, old fantasy world, where they were just savage, crazy, like just murderous nutbags. But maybe they're
I
just
don't
not
think
that
you're going to
bad
go away
anymore.
from that.
You think they're going to be that in order?
Did you not hear her voice in that trailer?
Yeah, it was twisted. It was scary.
She is pissed, man.
But like,
She ain't put up with no shit.
but how does that become, like, is she pissed at chaos or is she pissed at demons? I guess we'll find out.
I think she's going to be kind of pissed at everybody.
So maybe it's kind of like an independent faction, kind of loosely on order.
I wonder if you might see the first faction where they are order, but they will not ally with X, Y, and Z.
Or
Now,
any-
that's me just rumorous, or anyone for that matter, but I wonder if they will be like, you can't ally with Stormcast, because the Stormcast are just like, yo, she crazy, she cray cray.
Well,
Yeah.
they do limit who your allies can be anyway.
Well, yeah,
Like, I
but that's
can't
what I'm
bring-
saying. But like, they might come out and just be like, we can't be allied with if we're pure. That's it. Anyway, we'll move on to the 40K news and rumors. So we kind of missed Custodes because that came out a while ago. You talked about in the last podcast, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I love me some Custodes. Yeah.
So these guys are great. Those bike models that came out are gorgeous. They're boxes of 3 for $70, and the best
So
part about
nice.
them is that you get 3 bikers, or you can get 3 characters on bikes. So that character spam is real, and we're going to talk about a list later in the show that I think now that if you directly replaced certain characters in that list with these guys on bikes, you could almost just dominate. It's pretty crazy.
Yep.
So Custodes came
have,
out. Darren called it. He's so happy.
Well, yeah, I'm still waiting for the Forge World book, so we'll see. But I'll make do with these guys
Keep
for
waiting.
now. I know. I keep bugging them. Like every day, I post something on their Facebook page.
So, and then the next news, Darren, is
Well, there's Thousand Suns coming out in a few days. This week, the book. No new models, but they ported over a lot of the AOS stuff. So like Zangors and Shamans and the Mutalith Vortex Beast.
yeah.
Yeah.
So guys with bows are going to be in 40K,
Yep.
Skyfires.
Skyfires. Yep.
riding a disc, shooting bows and arrows at Space Marines.
Yep.
Like, I get the Mutalith Vortex Beast because you're like, it's just a beast, right? That's kind of cool.
Yep.
But and why in Thousand Suns, right? Why not in Chaos Demons? Mutalith, like a
Because
Vortex.
there's each.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, they're like Tzeentch Space Marines.
That's true. It's kind of weird.
So I guess like Zangors prefers Space Marines over demons.
Yep.
Well, it's just like when you'll get the eventual World Eaters book, the Khorne demons will be in there. I mean, the Zangors are still. I mean, I don't even think they have the demon rule, do they?
No, I don't. They're not demons. No.
No. So that's exactly why.
So yeah, so it's like Thousand Suns are kind of like Tzeentch Mortals. Like those are like the Tzeentch Guard book type thing. Not really, but kinda.
Yeah.
But it's pretty
What's the
good.
whole thing like the Zangors are like the slaves they used on the planet of sorcerers or something like that.
Could be. I wouldn't know. I don't know in 40K what the Zangor's theme is. Fluff is.
Yeah.
But I'm
Well,
excited.
it's got-
I think that's gonna be good. My Magnus model could use some play, so I'm always happy. And with the buff to Brimstone horrors, this book should be awesome.
Oh yeah. And then hopefully soon we'll be getting. They also announced the next 3 codexes, which we kind of already knew: Dark Eldar, Tau, and Necrons.
So I'm the most happy that Tau are coming because I'm just sick and tired of all the Tau players online bitching about not having a codex.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes out, all you're going to hear is them bitching about how commanders and drones went up in points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach's list goes to like 4,000 points.
or that commanders can only take one of every type of weapon because that's what comes on the sprue. They can't take multiple fusion blasters or whatever they are.
That'd be pretty funny. I'd like that. And then the Dark Eldar's going to be sick because they're one of the nicest miniature ranges in the game that have sucked for so long that it would be really nice if their book is good.
Yep.
One of our friends, Scary, would be very appreciative.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
is that it for news? Anything we missed?
And no, they also announced what we already knew, the new Shadespire Warband's coming out.
Oh yeah, but they're actually announced, and we've seen some pictures of Fire Slayers and Skaven.
Skaven. Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked about that. So you can actually listen to our previous show, which is all about Shadespire, if you want to learn the current warbands and maybe a starting deck. And then when those come out, it's going to be good times, because I'm really shocked that Shadespire had this much of a gap. I thought for sure they were going to come out and, like, for the first 3-4 months, you're going to get at least one warband a month or something. But they kind of just let the meta settle, right? They let it settle.
Yeah,
then...
like there's been big numbers at the Grand Clashes, so I think it's been doing fine.
Yeah, and I guess you don't want to buy a card game like that. You don't want to throw the meta in a loop too often. You want to do it every couple months, not every month.
You don't want to get people to feel fatigued that they already have to keep buying new shit already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You already see a lot of kind of.
Are you guys actually talking about GW?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They don't want you to seem like you can't buy too much. How long have you guys been in the hobby?
No, they don't. You don't overload too much. It is quite the overload these days in terms of shit coming out.
Okay, so we're going to move off news. We're going to go on to the main segment. And so we're going to talk about... What are we going to talk about, Darren? We're going to talk about the top 8 lists at the LVO for 40K. We're also going to talk a little bit about Jeff's list and his performance, and my performance and list and what I won and what Jeff won. So start with you, Jeff. Take it away. We're not going to go through all your games in details, but if you want to give a shout out to some of your opponents and just give us your general like how was the LVO, man?
It was very similar to last year. My performance was not as good as last year. Last year I took my Knights and I came, I think, 52nd overall. This year I came 174th, which is, it's a big drop.
There's twice the people this year. There's twice the people.
Still the top 30.
There was only about 4. I mean, the day 2 there was 220 tables, so that's only 440 people. So I don't know how many that were there day 1, but
500.
No, 447 day 1.
Oh yeah.
There you go. And some of those people never played. So if you actually look for people that actually played, there was 446 day 1. And then people started dropping after game 1, game 2, game 3. Oh yeah, man, they had lots of dropouts.
Yeah,
people dropped after game 1.
Yeah,
that's always the way it is with LVO. So there's some people there who just they drop after one game and they're done.
Like it's the type of event where it's win, loss, draw. It's 500 people. The attitude is very, who cares about? Maybe not. There's a little bit who care about painting, but it's very like, bring the hard list, smash your opponent, like very win at all cost style, not in a bad way, like mechanic. Like it's designed to be very, very like chess tournament like very just competitive.
Well, if you're aiming for the top 8, you cannot lose a game.
And most people,
the moment you lose a game, you have no chance at the top 8, especially when that many people.
And it's in Las Vegas, so a lot of people are probably there. And they maybe made a deal with their wife. I'll play till I lose a game, or maybe they just like, well, I'll go drink now. I don't care. Or there's probably other
tons
events.
of other events going on. Yeah, I mean, it was bigger than it was last year. The main convention hall, Chris, that you're familiar with, was still filled with 40K and Sigmar, and then they had a side vendors hall, which was bigger than last year's, and then they had all the 40K friendly, the 30K, Shadespire was there. Shadespire was pretty big on the Sunday, and then they had all the demos and the Malfo and the Infinity and the Warmahordes, all that in the other hall, which was probably double the size than it was last year. So it was massive.
That's pretty crazy.
So what I brought my Blood Angels here, thinking that there wasn't going to be too many, and lo and behold, there was a lot of Blood Angels.
They're good. That book's a really good book for what it is.
Yeah, and mostly sprinkled into Imperial armies as a guard. Well, that was my list. So I took a guard battalion with 2 company commanders, 3 infantry squads with 1 mortar each, and then 3 heavy weapons teams with mortars. And those are my sit in the back and fire stuff. Then I had a mix of a Blood Angel battalion and Supreme Command detachment. With the main thing was 2 units of Death Company. One with 15 Death Company with chainswords and jump packs, and the other one 15 Death Company with 2 Thunderhammers, 7 power swords, and the rest had chainswords with jump packs. Followed up by 3 units of scouts, just bolters. And then I had a crap load of characters. I had Lamarties, I had the Sanguinor, I had a priest with a jump pack, I had a librarian with a jump pack, I had Mephiston, I had a sanguinary ancient, and then I had the captain with the jump pack and the Thunderhammer and the relic and the warlord trait to give him +1 damage to his Thunderhammer. So he was a damage 4 Thunderhammer, which was nasty. I went 3-3, so I faced off. Actually, all my opponents were great this year. All my opponents actually had nicely painted armies, and were all pretty decent human beings. I ran into a couple ones last year where the army was the literal 3-dot minimum color, and
which they said wouldn't fly this year.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. That didn't actually happen, but that's not for me to comment.
Everybody knew that wasn't going to happen. What do you mean?
No.
No, like just explain a little bit what you guys are talking about for people that don't know, but don't be mean or anything.
Leading up to it, Reese and Frankie frequently on their podcast were talking about how if they see unpainted miniatures, or if they see miniatures that don't meet the 3-color minimum and base, or if they see miniatures, and they specifically called out like a Storm Raven acting as a Fire Raptor, they will pull the models. Now, I do know of one incident where a guy had his models pulled, and he threw a hissy fit and quit the tournament. But there were other instances where they had models that were left on tables. Now, I don't know if they were pointed out to judges. I do know an incident where it was pointed out to a judge, and they said, "Well, it was clear that was okay." So, I'm not going to criticize. It's not my.
Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they didn't like. It was just.
Yep.
I
said, not my event. I'm not going to.
Yeah, they even went on to public podcast and made a public special announcement the week before that they were doing all this stuff. So
it's easy to say that though, and it's hard to do in real life. Like I remember there was a tournament in Ottawa that did that once, and they actually called a guy, and then what they did is to kind of renege on it. Everybody got brushes and just painted the guy's bases like brown and like their bolter red, and so like 10 people from the tournament sat down and somebody had paints and they just kind of painted all the bolters red and all the bases brown, and then the guy could play. But it was cool. like and we delayed the tournament and everybody kind of banded together to do it. But like I do get where they're coming from. Like they tell you, "Oh, you can't do that." This guy then quits. Now they probably lost like a listener. They might have lost a client, and I get it. It's hard to do. I'm a TL man, and that's hard to do.
I completely agree with you. So I stand both ways, and yes, you do that, you are ruining someone's experience.
Oh, 100%.
You are telling someone who possibly flew to this, miles, hundreds of miles to this event,
kilometers,
that you are ruining their experience. However, the contrary to that is everyone like myself, for example, who sat down 2 weeks before the event and busted their ass trying to make sure that their models met that standard that they were advertising. I made sure all my models were 3 colors. I made sure all my bases were done. I made sure my models were to a standard that I thought was what was required for this tournament. So how do I feel now where I'm playing against someone who has unpainted models or models that are dots of colors or gray bases, where I held myself to the standard that I thought this tournament would be held to, and yet they're allowed to continue as they are.
It's true.
Right? It's all fine to say that it's hard to do, and fine, I understand that. Then don't make a deal of it.
Well, I'm just saying from my perspective, like it's hard. But yeah, if they said they were going to do it, it's in the pack. They should have done it. I'm not judging, but it's just like it's really hard because they like people.
It
is hard.
Yeah,
because you're spoiling someone's vacation essentially. And the analogy I made, because we actually had this discussion down there, the analogy I made is if I'm caught speeding and I'm given a ticket, yeah, you know what? It sucks that I got a ticket. I hate getting a ticket. But I was speeding. I was willfully breaking a rule. If you brought an unpainted model, it was well documented that they would be pulled, so you were understood that you were breaking a rule.
Yep.
Okay, and what about models without turrets and weapons and flying stands?
See, those, again, are you specifically referencing someone, Chris?
Well, I'm just referencing, like, that army, there's a couple people with something very similar, has been around for 5-6 years.
Correct.
So it's not a new thing. I've seen it a million times. No flying stands, no weapons, no turrets, and just, like, hulls of tanks. And it's been around for many, many years, and it's fine, but, like, is that allowed? Was that in the pack?
I don't think they specifically mentioned that. I mean, your models had to be WYSIWYG. So
no, so they weren't WYSIWYG. But if you have the bits in your backpack, I guess it's okay. Okay, it's fine. So we can move on to, I guess, do you want to shout out any opponents that maybe you bonded with or had a good friendship with, or any games that you maybe really hammered somebody?
There was one guy, Patrick McKeevy, I think his name was. He's playing a Gilliman Gunline, which of the 2 losses I had this weekend, both were to goddamn Gilliman Gunlines, which it shouldn't happen. But he brought a Gilliman Gunline. He was a great opponent. I saw him around the rest of the tournament. He's always came by with a handshake. He was a rock solid dude. So Patrick, if you're listening, respect, man. I had one of my best games, even though you stomped me. However, when you
lose and you had your best game, that's really good.
Yeah, I'll give him credit. He's like number 2 or 3 Space Marine player on the ITC. So losing to him doesn't feel so bad.
Okay.
My other games, they're all pretty good. I won good. My opponents, I didn't feel when I smashed them, they felt good. But most of my games, oddly enough, were, other than one Chaos, which is my first game with Mortarion, and my 5th game, which is against NIDS, they're all against Imperial armies. I had 2 McGilliman Gunlines, and then 2 IG players.
Was there a lot of NIDS there?
There was
surprisingly
a decent. Not. There was a decent amount of NIDS, and again, something we discussed.
They just weren't the right list.
They were the right list. They weren't the right players.
Okay.
If you looked at it, there was no. Even the only one that you could say was the right player for NIDS was Jeff in Control Robinson. He's the only one I think had a lot of skill piloting a NID list. The rest of them weren't names you knew. Even though NID player that beat me, I mean, he beat me because I made a stupid mistake running Biovores, and I kept stuff in reserve. So he put Biovores, all the spore mines out on the table, and I wasn't able to drop down anywhere close to him.
Oh, that sucks.
But yeah, and you know what? My mistake. I saw it coming, and I thought I'd be able to avoid it, and I didn't.
Okay. Well, yeah, and then that's the thing too is it's still good players behind the list. That's what matters. The same names at the top 8 that have been there the last how many years? Some of them.
That's right.
Okay, so let's move on then. We'll talk about the top 8 lists. We're not going to go through the bottom 4. Maybe we'll move through kind of quickly, and then we can spend some time on some of the topper ones. But in 8th place at the ITC LVO this year was Jeff Poole with a Eldar army. Surprise, surprise. Now his Eldar army is pretty standard: 3 Wave Serpents, a bunch of Rangers, Warlock Conclave, small one, Illic Night Spear, which is kind of interesting choice, and then he also had 3 Crimson Hunters. So it's
3
actually
Crimson Hunters, but still the 3 units of Dark Reapers too.
Only
there's no Eldar. There's no Eldar list in the top here that doesn't have Dark Reapers.
Exactly.
Yep.
So he has Dark Reapers, but for the most part, with Night Spear and the Crimson Hunters, that makes him one of the more unique Eldar players in the top.
And no,
right, and
no
And not like
Yannari.
not a massive unit of Dark Reapers. Yeah, no Yannari, right?
Yeah, no 10 Dark Reapers with Yvrain, so they shoot twice. None of that. No Shining Spears. None of the really crazy meta breaking stuff right now. So that's kind of good to see,
No,
right?
it's the Crimson Hunters are what make that list. The Crimson Hunters and the Wave Serpents. The Wave Serpents they put out some damage, but what
They
they
just don't
do is
die.
they don't die. They allow his troops to survive while the Crimson Hunters go around and do work.
Yeah, those jets are crazy.
I played
Shout out
against
to
them
Jay.
before. I wasn't too impressed with the Crimson Hunters, but
Oh,
I guess
hate
if you
them.
run a lot of tanks or against you, you have a super heavy, right? So they probably just drop it in one turn.
Well, no, the 10 Dark Reapers shooting twice drop my super heavy in one turn. But the Crimson Hunters just a pain in the ass. They drop everything else, and you can't kill them. They're like -2, and they can do. Are those the guys that do the psychic powers as well, or is it
No.
a different one? I can't remember.
No, they're not the
Anyway,
ones. These are the
the
ones
Bright
with
Lances
Bright
and
Lances
stuff.
and Pulse Lasers.
You know, Bright Lances
Yeah,
are strong.
they're double
you
Bright
know.
Lances.
Yeah, they're just good flyers, and they're not that expensive either.
Yeah, it's only 306. Sorry, 3, 4, 5, it's like 500 and something points for 3 of them. So it's not crazy for 3 flyers that can
480.
nuke tanks. So
Yeah, and they can go wherever you want, right? Because they can vector dance and all this stuff. So
That's it.
yeah,
So in 7th place, we have Sean Naden's Eldar. Surprise, surprise.
did
Now,
he bring? Was this the same as he brought to that other tournament where nobody could figure out how he won
Yeah,
or
I
how he
think
beat
so.
4 Fire Raptors?
It was his army list where he intentionally didn't have any Dark Reapers or Wave Serpents. I think he intentionally left those out. So he did a Yannari battalion. He took the Yinkarn, Yvrain. He took Ra as well, which is a pretty good choice. 5 Dark Eldar Warriors, 20 Dark Eldar Guardians, 20 Dark Eldar Guardians, 7 Swooping Hawks, a Solitaire, Eldrad in a Yannari battalion, an Autark Skyrunner, 5 Rangers, 5 Warriors. And then he took an Alatiok Supreme Command detachment with a Farseer, 2 Warlocks, and a Spirit Seer. So he has a ton of psychic powers, quite a few bodies for an Eldar army as well, and just a lot of characters dishing the damage. I'm sure he
Well, it's not the
uses-
characters. It's the 20 Guardians that dish damage. He'll get those to like a 4-up in ball. He'll drop them down right where they need to be, and I believe Eldar have a power or a stratagem that allows you to fire with them twice, and 20 warriors putting out 40 shots, guided with Doom. They will take things down.
Yeah, and then Raw as well. If you can get him to fire twice, that's actually quite a bit of shooting.
Yeah.
Or even the Guardians, if you can get them to fire twice. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting list.
I mean, it's Sean Naden. It's a name who's not unfamiliar in the top tables, right?
Yeah.
He knows what he's
He
doing.
did have a tie earlier on, I believe, which is kind of like his trademark of submariner.
Yeah, the second round draw.
Yeah, that's a usual Sean Naden trick. You could see it first round. He always gets like one off perfect. In 6th place, we had Mark Wright. He had Blood Angels. So why don't you take
I
this one away?
love this list.
You take it away,
I
Jeff.
love this list. So this is it's pure Blood Angels with Primaris Marines. So he's running a Blood Angel battalion where he's got the captain with the jump pack, as you do. That guy goes in and wrecks stuff. He's got a librarian with a jump pack, which you need for the Blood Angel powers. Then he runs 3 5-man intercessor squads, so that the Primaris standard TAC Marines. He's got another battalion with Sanguinary Priest, the Sanguinor, which is a must-have in a Blood Angels force. He gives you +1 attack to every Blood Angel unit within 6 inches. Then he's got another 5-man intercessor squad, a 5-man scout squad, a 7-man TAC squad, which I thought was interesting, with a heavy bolter, and then again another Vanguard detachment with Lamarties, 50-man Death Company, 10-man Sanguinary Guard, Sanguinary Ancient, and a Company Ancient. So basically, I talked to him, and what he's doing is the intercessors hold that back line. With their 30-inch range, they're there to pick off the scout screens and the stuff that's going to stop you from deep striking down. The scouts, similar to my scouts, you put those out first to stop your opponent's scout screens from blocking you off from where you want to deep strike, usually a giant building. And then the Sanguinary Guard, the Death Company hits anything that has a 4-up or worse save. those Death Company with chainswords and bolters will just cleave through guardsmen, through bloodletters, through plague bearers. They just put out so many wounds between Lamartis, who allows them to reroll hits, and all the other buffs. And then the Sanguinary Guard are your hammer. They're the ones that you put in to the tougher units because they're all D3 damage with -3 APs. So, and he piloted it very well, and I'm very happy that a pure Blood Angels player was up there in the top 8.
Awesome. So number 5 was also a Blood Angels player, so you might as well take it away.
So is Mike Brent, otherwise known as the guy who runs Nova. So Mike had a more of a, your traditional, what you saw, mix army. So he had the IG units in there with the heavy weapon squads with mortars, 3 units of scout and sentinels. He had 10 infantry squads with mortars. So he was just running a crap ton of bodies in his backfield. And then again, he had your Sanguinary Priest, Librarian, Chaplain, and then he's running just Sanguinary Guard. So we had 8 Sanguinary Guard, 7 Sanguinary Guard, Sanguinary Ancient. Sanguinary Ancient allows you to reroll 1s to wound in combat, which if you're running into combat with Blood Angels, you need that. And then again, 5 scouts, or 3 units of 5 scouts with bolters.
So
and it's very similar tactic. Right? Yeah, it's a drop list. You're going to put the similar. It's exactly what I was doing. All the guardsmen in your back line, they hold your back line. They bubble out. They have enough bodies that you can bubble out your entire deployment zone from somebody getting in you, as well as you're pushing them right up on the line to bubble someone out from 9 inches in front of you. Scouts go out in front. They extend that bubble even further so that you can safely drop in.
Yeah, that's kind of I can't get away from that when I'm making any new lists. It's just so much utility in running even just a battalion of guardsmen, but brigade is better, and then running some scouts just to hold table space. And then whatever you want the last part to be can be anything, but it's just so much utility in that, and so many CP, and you can take the Grand Strategist and the Aquila, and it's hard to get away from that when you have it, because it's just so good.
Even my Blood Angel list now, I'm taking the Guard with the Grand Strategist and the Aquila because they're so but Blood Angels are so CP thirsty that every turn I can use a CP to pick a unit up and jump them down elsewhere on the table, and then another CP to do 3d6 charge, and another CP or 3 CP to make him attack again. I mean, once I've switched my list now to using that Guard, Aquila, and CP farm, I'm burning through 4 to 5 CP a turn.
Yeah, I've tried to make like a Custodes list over the last few days without that 180 point battalion with the Aquila and the Grand Strategist, but it just can't. It's just too cheap for bodies and for the CP.
It's too good. Yeah. So you want to take the next one, Darren?
Yeah. So the next one is Alex Fennel. So Alex was running a very interesting list, basically a Guard and Space Wolf Lord spam. I don't think I've seen hardly any Space Wolves being played so far in this edition. But this was basically, so we had a battalion of Herald Deathwolf, 2 Space Wolf Lords on Thunderwolves, so those are the characters. All his Lords had Power Fists and Storm Shields, so rocking 3+, 3+ involves. A platoon commander and infantry squad with mortars and a quad launcher. Then he had a Supreme Command with the Blood Angels Captain and the Warlord, and I'm assuming all the good stuff on that. Another Blood Angels Captain and Mephiston.
Yeah, that's a nice choice. Mephiston
who is a beast. Yeah. And then another battalion with 3 more Wolf Lords, 2 Wolf Lords and a Battle Leader, all on Thunderwolves with Storm Shields, 3 more infantry squads with mortars, some Cyber Wolves, and an Eversur, a Calidus, and a Calexis.
Yeah, it's an interesting list, and this is that list
it's character spam.
Yeah, where I was hinting at the Custodians actually add a lot of value to this list. I think direct replacing the Space Wolves with something like a Custodes. What are they called? The characters on the jet bikes, Darren?
Shield Captain.
Shield Captains. I should put a Shield Captain on a jet bike. He's 160 points, and he's fucking crazy. Yeah, you would put him instead of I think he's better than the Space Wolves. You could easily put 3 or 6 of those guys in this list. You couldn't play around too much with the Blood Angel stuff. And that's why, if you look, the Blood Angels are in a Supreme Command, so it's pure, so they can use their stratagems, which is crazy.
That's exactly it.
The one thing that I've seen a lot recently, and that I've used a couple of times, is the Calidus. So it wasn't as useful back in the last kind of 4 or 5 months when there weren't a lot of heavy CP usage other than rerolls. But now that everybody who has a Codex relies on CPs, and sometimes all in the first turn, like Jeff, if you're dropping your Death Company down, how many CPs are you using in your first turn? Like a lot. Right?
I actually use a lot of pregame ones. The CPU, I'm always using it. If I have a Death Company unit coming in, it's always 1 CP to do a 3d6 inch charge.
Yeah, so a lot of people spend those first turn CPs and try and spam a whole bunch of them, and so being able to 4-up those and make them spend double, even if they don't end up using it, is like pretty nifty for like 85 or 80 points.
It's not only that, is it now forces the Callous Assassin, forces your opponent to deploy tighter in their backfield, because that assassin can come in with, what is it? It's D6 plus 3 inches. So normally you can do that 18-inch between units, right? Knowing that nothing can come in and disrupt your back line. Now you got to worry. Now you got to start worrying about an 8-inch gap, because if they roll that, that 1 or that 2, they can start deploying a lot closer than you want someone. And they're going to start tying up mortar teams. They're going to start hunting that Kurnoff's Aquila character who you have sitting in the back gathering those CPs for you.
Yeah, I really like the title of his list, which is anything but it is some random crap I found lying around.
Yeah, that's not true though, right?
Yeah, his list was like heavily play tested and thought out. Yeah,
definitely not random.
Definitely not. So the next 3 lists are all Eldar, and they're all very, very similar with slight differences. So I know Brad says Chaos on the BCP, but he didn't. So we'll go through them. So the third place was Brad Chester with his Eldar. He had the basics of 2 Farseers, a Warlock, 3 Units of 5 Rangers, 2 Wave Serpents, Cat Lady with 9 Dark Reapers, 8 Shining Spears, 17 Guardians, 5 Cabalite Warriors, 5 Cabalite Warriors, a Spirit Seer, 3 Units of 3 Dark Reapers, and another Spirit Seer. So he's got some casting. He's got the big Dark Reaper unit that can shoot twice with Yvrain. And then he's got the Shining Spears, which are amazing because they can do lots of things. They can drop in. They can then be soul bursted with Yvrain if you're using them as Yunari, which he is. And then they could go into your enemy and charge them basically like on the turn that they drop. You can also use your Farseers to cast powers that make them move again. You can buff them. You can doom guide the enemy. They have really good shooting. They got like strength 6, -2 to your save, I believe. And then the Exarch has like a strength 8 shot. So in general, the Shining Spears just give you all that forward pressure you need to kind of hammer the enemy, while the Dark Reapers sit in the back and just hose everything else. And then the Wave Serpents kind of just minimize your drops so that you get the +1 to go first.
Yep.
Anything I miss on that? Lots of psychic powers. And of course, you need the Spirit Seer and the Farseer and maybe a Warlock because of the 2 different disciplines. You actually need some of the Warlock, the Runes of Battle, and some of the Farseer powers. So you need to mix it up. You can't just go all one or the other.
No, you didn't miss anything. I mean, most of the strategies with these guys with the big unit Dark Reapers is they're going to spend a command point and they're going to put them in reserve and deep strike them. It just prevents them from getting shot off the table at first turn.
Yeah, and then they usually put their units of 3 inside the Wave Serpents with the characters and kind of hide them back. And the Wave Serpents usually in a Latiok detachment, so they're -1 to hit. So,
yep.
It's pretty good. That was Brad's list. Tony's list is almost identical. He just kind of took a few less Dark Reapers in his 1 unit, and he took a Warlock Conclave instead of a solo Warlock, which is no big deal. Just saves on kill points. And then Nick's list was very similar to them both. He took the full Shining Spears that time, and it's kind of just one number here and there that they changed. So now these 3 lists are super similar, so we'll kind of get into how the finals went. So if I believe, once we got down to the top 4, it was Nick versus Brad and Tony versus Alex Fennel. So
Correct.
Nick beat Brad Chester with no drama, but Tony beat Alex Fennel with super drama. So
Super drama.
This is what we talked about at the beginning of the show. We're gonna not attack people. We're just gonna look at it from a rules point of view, and we're gonna give our synopsis. If you want the real truth, go on and watch the actual live stream of the game, because the incident in question, there was a follow up to it. There was like an hour follow up to it, and then there was after it. So, there is full context of the situation, but basically, Alex dropped his assassins down.
Well, there's actually, before you go into that, Chris, there's a little part. So at the beginning of the game,
It's actually better if
a
you
lot of these guys kind of agreed that intent matters. If it's obviously that you intended to do something, or you said you're going to do something, then that should count, and let's play a gentleman's game. So what Alex did is, Alex has his movement phase, and as we all know, reserves come down at the end of the movement phase. So he put his assassin on the board, went to go move other units, and Tony said, "No, I'm sorry, your movement phase is done."
Which is weird, right? Like,
it is by full rules as written, full raw, by Alex putting that assassin on the board. Yes, he is acknowledging that his movement phase is done because he's bringing in reserves.
Now, this is the question that comes up, and this is what I actually do all the time. Why can't you just put them on the board, do your movement, not move them, and then just use them as kind of like a measuring tool so you know where they're going to be? Like, is this like chess where you have to keep them off the board, and the second you put them on, you're done? Or do you just have to, maybe if he had declared that, there wouldn't have been an issue?
That's up to your opponent and you, right? And then that's where I said...
Is it? Like, what if I said I'm just using... Like, can I use models to measure stuff?
If you said, I'm going to put this here to just measure stuff around, and your opponent said, well, no, that's going to end your movement phase, then technically your opponent is correct.
He isn't, though, because you're just placing counters on the board. You're not bringing in deep strikers. That's my point. They're not actually coming in till the end, but you can use them to speed up the game and put them there. Yeah, but you can do that. Like, why can't I take a model off the board and be like, "Yo, I want to make sure that your model can't fit between," and use it as like a measuring device? You can.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but this is where this whole controversy came about, right? That is why people got upset.
If you roll dice, it's different. So, like, to me, if Alex would have said, "I'm going to shoot this bolt pistol," he rolls it, he shoots a bolt pistol, and goes, "Oh, I want to go back and move something." That's a completely different story.
No, you've gone to a different phase.
And you've rolled a die. You've done an action that can't be taken back. You've rolled a die. You've done an action that cannot be taken back without consequences, but placing an assassin on a board and then saying, "Oh, you put a guy on that was in reserve, you're over," I think is stupid. And I also think
Chris,
what?
I agree with you 100%.
I'm just, and it's fine if you argue devil's advocate a little bit, but I just think it's like, it speeds up the game. So if you came up to me and said, "Yo, I'm going to drop in 18 obliterators," and you're like, "No, measure it out," I have to literally measure a space for 18 obliterators. Like, it could take me 2 hours to pre-measure that mess. Whereas if I just drop them in and I move my cultists around them, it's done, right?
One of the things I was doing is all my characters would drop them with my death company, and what I would tell my opponents is, I'm going to put my death company down first, then my characters are going to come in, but I'm going to rearrange the death company. I'll make sure everything's out at 9 inches so that my character's in the optimal position. Just because the death company is so big, I got to get that on the table first just so I can figure out where all the models are going, and then I'll put the characters down.
Exactly. But to me, I think
everyone was okay with that.
I think you should be able to say, "Hey, I'm just going to put all my deep strikers down and then move around them," and at the end be like, "Okay, they're actually there now." But
that's not the rules. The rules
don't really say that. Not really.
But you can't. The rules do say I can't go back on. The rules do say I can't go back and move a unit after I've moved another unit. Once you pick a unit, you move the unit. That unit is done its movement phase.
Yes.
So if I bring my death company down, I put them on the table.
But you're not actually bringing them in.
And then
you're using them as a counter.
And then I put a character down, and I move a death company to fit it. That technically is moving a model after it's already been placed.
Unless you're saying I'm just using them to take up that space. Like, I'm pre-measuring with my unit. What if you say, I'm just pre-measuring with my unit, my characters? There's
Again, that's between you and your opponent, right?
I think it's
your
just clear. I think if you say that, there's no, like, your opponent has no legs to stand on to be like, you can't move your stuff once you place it. Like, there's no rule that says, like, once you put a model on the board, it's there in your movement phase.
Especially if they agreed that they were going to play in 10.
I mean, I can counter your exact. There's no rule that says once a model's on the table, it's there. Absolutely, you put a model on the table, man. That model is now in play. You've put that model on the table for all intents and purposes. That model is there.
No, but so if you put your tape measure on the table, is it there? And now
tape measure's not a model.
Oh, it could
tape
be.
Not a model.
I don't know. What if you painted something on it? What define a model, man? Define a model. Like, because I'm just being.
Define a model. Define a model. It is a listed unit in your army that you have a specific model that represents that unit in your army.
So what if I just took? So what you're saying is, I should just take empty bases and use those instead.
There you go. Perfect.
And then swap them all out. So that just seems like silly.
You're right. It is.
Like that whole argument that the fact that was a thing to me just seems childish and silly. Like it shouldn't be a thing.
I thought you said we weren't going to judge on this one.
To me, I'm judging.
We're judging you, Jeff.
No, it's fine. Judge away.
Because you do it. Jeff does this behavior. Jeff totally does this.
I'm a piece of shit, right?
What I'm talking about, you do.
I don't do this. I do not do this.
Yeah, you put your units down and move them. Like, you don't consider a unit.
I do that.
You don't consider a unit. Like, if I was to go to you, Jeff, and say, I'm going to put this unit on the board, and I'm going to use it to, like, I'm going to put 18 obliterators on the board, Jeff, and then move my cultists around them, just for ease of play, and then they'll be there at the end of the phase. I don't think you're going to say anything.
Cool. You know what? That's cool, because you're acknowledging that's what your intent is. And here's where I brought up that whole intent thing. Alex did not say, I'm putting this model here to remind me, or I'm putting this model here because that's where it's going to go when my movement phase is done, yada, yada, yada. He took a model and put it on the table, took his hand off of it.
Well, there's no handoff. There's no handoff rule.
Well, but no, you're right. There is no handoff rule. But
that's the other part of it that's crazy. Is like he placed it, took his hand off, and I was like, well, your turn is done. Well, not really.
Because he didn't say anything. He put a model from reserve on the table.
Okay. So then, if you don't say anything, and I go, oh, that ended your phase. Because the second you took your hand off, it's at the end. Bang, you can't place any more reserves.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's stupid. Okay. So then we're going to move on. And then the final was obviously Nick and Tony. Eldar on Eldar.
So Alex ended up losing that game.
Yeah.
Because he lost the whole movement phase. And as we all know,
with characters.
The movement phase is, that's where you win games.
And I believe Alex had a moment and walked away, which justifiable. But yeah, so then the final was Tony and Nick, and then the same thing happened again.
This was glorious.
It was kind of interesting. Is Tony went to use the Sanheim stratagem to basically allow him to move, advance, and charge. But he never said it. He just moved and advanced. And then his assault phase... No.
You have to use the stratagem in the shooting phase.
Well, exactly. You use it when you advance.
Use it when you advance. So he went through the shooting phase. I said, now charges. And Nick points directly at those Shining Spears and said, they advance, they can't charge.
You didn't use your stratagem. And now, this, to me, is more effective, because in a lot of ways, Nick is correct. This is more correct, because... regardless of what happened in the previous game, because like there was a die that marked how many command points were used, that die was not turned.
Yep.
A distinct phase or two had already passed. I don't actually think that Nick got him back in the same way that he got Fennel. I think I
could still argue that me advancing my Shining Spears so I can get a better charge off of you is intent.
And that's what he argued.
And it's the same thing, and it was held up for the same ruling.
Well, that's the thing. And Nick said, I'm only doing this to you because I knew your intent, and I'm only doing it because you called Alex.
So, yeah, the word is, I'm sorry, man. You did the exact same thing to Alex.
Yeah, so I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. Yeah. So it was what it was, but I actually think, like, when Nick called him on it, that was super more justifiable because of the fact that I mentioned. There's no command points were clicked. It had actually moved a full phase beyond. and dice had been rolled.
Right.
So that's the one thing, right? Like when do you spend your command points? You physically have to spend them, right? Like you have to show me that you spent them or marked it somewhere.
No, I don't.
You don't? You just keep track in your head?
You can. I mean, there's like you said, there's nothing in the rules that say I have to show you how many command points I have left.
But you have to
know how
spend
many
the command points. So if it says spend 2 command points in the movement phase, and you have a die, let's say you're using a die and you have 6, and it's now the assault phase and you didn't turn that die, then you technically didn't.
You are correct.
That's all I'm saying.
And again, I have nothing against what Nick did, and I thought actually outside of the game, this was perfect for Frontline. Because essentially what happens now is they have an outside the game narrative. Going in to the last, you had the chat that was watching the stream during the Alex and Tony game blow up. Like the chat was not, obviously there's a lot of people not happy with what happened in that game and how the events transpired. Then you have Tony facing Nick in the last one. Now you have a hero and a villain.
Yeah.
You could have not been, you couldn't script this for viewership better. I mean, I'm not talking like these, I'm not talking these are actual people now. I'm talking like as this is presented to the world, you now have your top match at the biggest Warhammer 40k tournament in the world, and you have a hero and a villain. And to me, that is awesome.
Yeah, because like you don't know what these guys are like in their everyday life. You don't know what their family situation is. You don't know how much sleep they got or how sick they might be. Like, so there's a lot of context that's missing. We just know what happened on the stream. So there's a lot of things that could be there. Everybody loses their shit once in a while. It just happened to happen on stream, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he's like that every game. I don't actually know. But
I don't know the guy.
But it was interesting, as you said,
that
it did turn a guy into a villain, and I wonder if it's going to have lasting repercussions on him. And like,
to be honest, you know this, Chris. You know this community as well as I do. Yeah, it'll have repercussions on him. He'll still have his homegrown team that he'll still train with. He'll still be showing up at events. And he's still going to be the type of player he is, and he's still gonna probably get up into those top spots again because he is one of those names that you see up there in those top spots.
Yep. So, which is
so I don't think it'll change anything. People, and especially in our community, and unfortunately in our community, things can get really toxic. There's a lot of hate in the competitive 40k community against people. Clubs dislike other clubs, players dislike other players, sometimes for very petty things, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for just internet rumors. I mean, I'm sure you and I, Chris, could name off 20 people who we know as known cheaters, and yet neither one of us has any first-hand experience, only from what somebody told somebody that told somebody else.
Well, that's where you're wrong, because I actually know a few. But
I know I said you and I could probably name 20 other ones. We both know a few that have first-hand experience, but I said there's others that you could rhyme off a name.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't rhyme off 20 cheaters. I couldn't.
Okay, maybe not 20.
That's
but
crazy.
You could rhyme
There's
off
not
names.
that many that I know, or even have heard of.
You could rhyme off names where you've heard things about this person having never ever played them.
Yes. For some of them. I've played a lot of them. But I'm different than most. I get what you're saying, Jeff. I get it.
Right, and unfortunately that's the community we have right now, and it's not healthy.
Well, a lot of it is that there's not a lot of repercussions for doing certain behaviors that maybe there should be. That's the issue, is that a lot of TOs, myself included, aren't as strict as maybe we should be. We don't. I'm not talking about LVO now. Like I wasn't there, but I'm just saying like there should be at the top 2 tables. Like I always ask this: why can't a ref sit there? Like in other games, a ref will definitely go, "Hey man, you played that rule wrong." But in 40k, you're not allowed to say anything, even as a ref. It just doesn't seem right to me that you can sit there and watch somebody play wrong and win a game and be like, wah wah, you should have known better. Like, if this was any other sport or game, the ref would say, oh, nope, that's not the rule, that's wrong, and maybe give a penalty out or not, right?
Well, I don't know. So someone makes a mistake, they forget a rule, and you capitalize on it. Is that wrong? In baseball, if I'm off my base and I go to start running and a pop fly gets caught, I need to run back, touch my base, and then leave. If I don't do that and I get thrown out because I forgot, is that the other team's fault? They took advantage of my mistake?
No, that's totally
You
fine.
forget
but so what I'm saying
you forget
is
a rule or you play a rule wrong. How am I mean, I will tell you that you're playing it wrong, and I usually try to help people out, but I am in no way obligated to do that.
No, you're not, of course. There's lots of things you're not obligated to do, but maybe refs should be, or maybe, like, if it's a top game, a ref should sit there, and if somebody goes, hey, this is the, no, you can't do that, the ref could say, actually, that's in the rules, he can. Like, I don't know.
And in those top games, I actually didn't see, I mean, what we just discussed, it was not actually cheating.
No, there's accidents and mistakes. Right. And I'm not talking about penalizing people for mistakes. I'm just saying, like, there should be consequences if you've never gotten past turn 4 in 2 tournaments. There should be consequences if you only played a turn 5 and you never roll for a random game length. I can design an army that does really good if I only play till turn 5.
So here's an interesting stat for you, Chris. Out of my LVO experience, the 6 games I played, I had 1 go all six turns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'm not a slow player. Like you know me, I'm not a slow player by any sense of the mean. I had 2 games go to turn 4. I had 1 game just barely go to turn 4, and the other 2 we kind of like got to turn 5 and then talk. And at that point, we had 10 minutes left and we just talked out the last turn.
Yeah, but
which is, to me, that's fair.
But that removes a lot of the legitimacy, in my opinion, from the game. So, like, yeah, use your baseball analogy. If they only got to the the 7th inning, and they said, and the one team was playing really slow at bat, and they went, it's 2 hours is over, game's over, and they left. And the other team's like, what do you mean? We could have won. We're down by 1. We could play 2 more innings. Nobody would watch the game. They'd all ignore it, and it would lose a lot of its legitimacy. And that's the state we're at right now, is that there are games at the top going to turn, like, 3.
Wow,
that's not a game.
All of those games only went to turn 4.
Yeah, that's not, as per the rules, that's not the game. That's not, like, they didn't actually play. They didn't finish games. They half-played games.
I mean, that's what you get when you have time limits. Baseball doesn't have a time limit.
Neither does War Machine, I believe. They just do the chess clocks, and then they have longer round times.
War Machine does death clocks, where if you finish your turn, if you run out of time, you lose.
Yeah. But that's the thing. So baseball doesn't have a time, so maybe 40K, maybe on the Sunday when you're at the top players, maybe they have 3.5-hour rounds or something, and they start earlier. I don't know. Just so that it's somewhat more complete.
I guarantee you, if they had 3.5-hour rounds, you still wouldn't see them finish.
I know, because you could see it. I think some of them did it on purpose. I don't know. Some of them might not have.
Well, someone brought up a very good point to me. And they said a lot of these guys, especially when they get up there, the reason they take longer is it's not that they're slow playing. It's that they are so afraid of either A, getting called out for cheating, or B, getting caught out for your opponent by a small mistake. Because Chris, you've been there. On those tables, the smallest mistake
you lose.
Will do you in.
Yeah.
So they are so afraid of making those mistakes that they take that extra 10 minutes to just stare and think and make sure what they're intending to do is the right move.
No, and I get that, and it's fine. But I'm just saying. But then, at that level, you would need more time. ETC does. I know ETC is different, but it does 4-hour rounds for a reason, right? They want to be legit. They want people to finish their games, and you're right. People don't finish their games, but they have penalties if you don't. So, I don't know. Darren, what's your take on this? And then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough that they need more time, and there's no point getting to, after 3 days of gaming, getting to like the final 2 games and then like playing half a game. Like if they need more time, they give them more time. There's a lot of, off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but there are some sports where the final round is not timed.
And that's not even just that. It's just it removes the doubt. So like maybe none of them soul played at all. I don't care. Whatever. I wasn't there. But maybe none of them did. But there's that doubt now. And it's bad for the community because they didn't finish. But if they finished all their games, there'd be no doubt. There'd be no question.
However, I'd also be very interested to see what percentage of games at LVO actually did finish naturally.
I think tournament games in general, like if I'm throwing a random number out and I'm not picking on LVO on all tournament games, I would say it's probably less than half actually finish.
I would
absolutely had threads in the forums about should we be lowering points already,
Well, that's a good point. Maybe 1,500 is where we should be.
I mean, out of the 5 other Canadians that were down there that I was close to, who are all playing in 40K, talking to them, I think only one of them said that every one of his games went and finished naturally. All the rest of them were like, yeah, turn 4. That's about it.
Yeah.
Most of them.
That sucks.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's also the state of the game right now, right? You never...
No, it's been like that for editions. It's been like that for a couple editions. But... Not in 5th. You're right, not in 5th.
There's a new thing you have now. It's first, and at least the way I look at it, it's first turn charges. Shooting is relatively simple, right? It's, I'm going to roll my dice. You're going to save. We're done. When you get into a charge, it's, I'm going to hit you. Oh, you can interrupt, and now you hit. I'm going to roll my attacks. You're going to roll your saves. Now you get to roll your attacks, and I have to roll my saves. So you're doubling the amount of player actions by simply having a first turn charge.
It's true. But I think in general, yeah, the model count is coming down because GW's raising the points on a lot of the things that were undercosted. And I think just maybe, 1,500 points would make a more balanced experience. But maybe not. Maybe you drop to 1,500 points and the same amount of games don't finish. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Okay, so is there anything else you guys want to wrap up at LVO? Talk about any, were you guys surprised that half the top 8 were Eldar?
Nope.
A little.
Nope.
I was a little surprised that the top 3 were Eldar. What I'm actually more surprised, what I'm more surprised is that there was no Chaos, no Guard spam in the top.
I'm not surprised. That Brimstone nerf for Chaos is you have to start from scratch again.
I'm not surprised that Guard couldn't beat Eldar. I haven't been able to beat Eldar.
Yeah, the Eldar are pretty good. Like, my Chaos beat Eldar, but that was with Brimstones with 4-ups. Without that, I think I'd lose them all.
See, what I thought was it's funny about Eldar is that when the book came out, it wasn't immediately winning, right? It was good. People were like, yeah, this is good. But it was still getting beat. Now it's like you've given the good players some time with it, and it's been cracked. They've figured it out.
Yeah, and same with, and that's the thing. And the one thing I was surprised was that there was no Nid Flyrant spam that made it, but that was the only shock. The rest is like Eldar's in dominance, man. Like, if you're going to a tournament, you want to do really well right now. You're basically stuck between like Blood Angels, Eldar, and like that's kind of it, man. Like Nids, Flyrants,
and that it almost is making me happy and sad at the same time that Blood Angels are now a top tier build, because I was so excited to play my Blood Angels, and now I don't want to be lumped in with all the bandwagoners.
Yeah. Jeff Brown's just a bandwagoner.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely struggling with some of the nerf bat issues right now because your armies get just hit and then they get changed and it's like they drop off the face of the earth, right? Like Space Marines when Storm Ravens got nerfed, they just dropped off the face of the earth. It feels like Chaos all of a sudden dropped off as soon as the Brim nerf came, and then it's just kind of funny how that's happening. Well, I guess we'll see if they recover. So good. So
before we finish LVO, we do have to get a big, huge shout out to our boy Joe Duca, pulling in the 3rd place Renaissance man for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, and like 20th overall, considering he's a new
20th overall. Player. Guy went in playing his Vanguard wing. I think going into it, he played like 5 games of Sigmar. Him and we played doubles on the Friday, got their butts kicked all 3 games. Joe learned all his mistakes, and then he went. I think the Sigmar played 4 games on the Saturday and 3 games on the Sunday.
Yeah, they played 7. It was crazy.
So he went 4, 2, and 1. And his 1 was against another Vanguard wing where they just kind of met in the middle and went, we're going to be here for the rest of the game. So Joe killed it. He's a well-deserved 3rd place. And him, me, and we're all very happy. If you get a chance to watch a recap of the stream, when Reese announces it, you can audibly hear Joey and I jump up and start screaming.
Yep. And then we should end on... I got my best Fire Slayers faction.
And you got your best Fire Slayers. You were a little Asian when you received that award.
Yeah, so who's a little Asian, he went up and received the award and took the photo with it. Oh, that what a guy. Anyway, with that, thanks for joining us, Jeff. I guess that's
Thank
it.
you.
Have a good one.
Thank you for completing this episode of CanHammer. If you'd like more information on what we do, our YouTube channel, or any events we run, see canhammer.ca. If you would like to donate to the show, you can visit patreon.com/canhammer, where you can donate and subscribe, and you'll get some sick rewards. If donating is not your thing, then just leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That really helps us get recognized and helps new people find the show. So with that, hopefully we'll see you on the battlefield.